Yo, Raiden, Shogun, and Kokomi are coming back on their rerun banners at the same time. So I'm going to give you the breakdown of both of these characters and how I use them, and you can decide for yourself if you think they're worth a spot on your account. Starting off with the Raiden Shogun herself, A. So I got her leveled past 80. She's ascended 80 out of 90, and she has a crit rate, crit damage of 63, 200 with 220 energy recharge, because that is important. A lot of her kit is based off energy recharge, which means that she pretty much only has like one artifact set that's like really good for her, but we'll get into that. But yeah, overall, she's got 16,000 HP, 1800 attack, and nothing else matters. Now with those stats, with a 63, 200 crit rate, crit damage, she is running a deathmatch. R1 deathmatch, baby. Now I definitely can switch her to the catch, but she is going to lose out on that 36% crit rate, and that's really important because honestly, I got kind of unlucky with her. Artifacts. Now with her crit rate, crit damage at 63, 200, she is running a deathmatch. So a lot of that crit rate straight up just comes from the deathmatch. Now I don't have her weapon, and yes, she would definitely hit harder with her weapon, but it would also take a little bit more work to build around her weapon. So this is kind of a quick and dirty, easy build. If you have deathmatch, it can work really well on her, but there definitely are better options. Running her with something like the catch is going to be a really solid option. I also ran her with Favonius Lance for a while. Both of these are going to be great options. The only one that I wouldn't recommend that's an energy recharge based sword is Skyward Spine, because you won't really be utilizing the effect too much because you're not going to be normal attacking on Raiden Shogun that often. Next is going to be her artifact set. So we have the Emblem of the Severed Fate. Pretty much the only set that you want to run on her because nothing else really makes sense. And the reason why you want to build so heavily into energy recharge is because of her Enlightened One passive talent. So where every percent that you have above 100% for energy recharge, she will actually gain 0.4% electro damage bonus and 0.6% greater energy restoration for her Muso Ishin, which is her ult or her burst. So with that being said, definitely want to run her on a 4-piece Emblem of the Severed Fate. I'll go ahead and show you my pieces real quick. I got lucky on a lot of crit damage, which is why I ended up having to go with deathmatch because I didn't get a lot of crit rate on these pieces. She's got a little bit here and there. Definitely could be running something a little bit better here, but once we get to the sands, we've got energy recharge, attack percent goblet, which is important, and then crit damage or crit rate, whatever you need here. But now the reason I run an attack percent goblet is because of that passive talent we just talked about. She gets so much electro damage just from how much ER she has. She literally doesn't need an electro goblet. You're just going to hit diminishing returns. Don't get me wrong, like you can still run one, maybe. But I would definitely recommend switching over to an attack goblet whenever you can, because my damage went through the roof when I switched her over to this. Maybe not through the roof, but it definitely went up. Next, we'll quickly go over her constellations. Now she has two constellations that are really important for bumping up her damage a ton. So her C2 ignores 60% of her opponent's defense, which is nuts. And then of course her C3, which is going to bump up her burst by 3 levels. Her other constellations are decent, but I definitely think that C2 and C3 are going to be her most important ones. Next, let's talk about her talents for a sec. So her normal attacks are not too important because you're not going to be using them very often. I'll get to it in a second talking about her burst, but if you're looking to get the most out of your Raiden Shogun, I would definitely recommend investing into her E ability and investing into her burst. Her normal attacks can kind of just fall by the wayside because you'll really never be using them. Unless you want her to be like your on field for everything, do you. Next, her Transcendence Baleful Omen. So her E ability, basically you cast it and it will stay on field for 25 seconds. It has a 10-second cooldown, so this can stay up indefinitely. And it will do a coordinated attack every 0.9 seconds. Now at level 8, it does a coordinated attack for 67.2% damage. This is great for energy generation. This is great for electro application. Makes it super easy to swirl electro with a character like Kazuha or Venti or even Sucrose, because you can pretty much just cast her E, switch to an Anemo character, do one normal attack, and then swirl whatever you hit. Really solid. And finally, she has her burst, her secret art Muso Shinsetsu, where she unsheaths her Muso Ishin sword and slices the damn galaxy in half. No, but seriously, this attack does a ton of damage. I have it at level 9, so her base damage is 680%. So she definitely does some big one hits. Keep in mind, there is a little bit more to this burst than meets the eye. So let's roll it back a little bit. So whenever Raiden Shogun is on your team and one of your characters absorbs like an energy particle, you will see a circle appear behind them. Now that circle will start to light up. These are called resolve stacks. And this is another big part of her damage. So as she gains more resolve, slowly more and more of the circles will light up going around the edge. And once they're all lit up, she has maximum resolve stacks. Basically, the long and short of it, the more resolve stacks you have, the bigger the damage her burst will do. So my normal rotation with her is to go through all my bursts on my team, then switch to her and go through her burst. Because that way she's collected the most energy, so she has the most resolve stacks and can do the most damage possible for that rotation. But once you do your big one-hit attack, you want to make sure you keep hitting with her attacks. Because you can see down here, she has energy restoration. So none of your characters have their burst anymore. You switch to Raiden Shogun, you release her burst and then start doing just normal attacks with it. And every time she hits an enemy, it will give energy restoration to the rest of your team. So as she's using her burst, they're getting their burst back. Are you starting to see how she ties everything together? Such a good character. All in all, I think Raiden Shogun is an amazing pickup if you need a good character to just round out a team, or maybe you just want some big electro damage, or maybe you're even having energy issues where your characters just don't get their burst enough. Maybe you need a battery. Raiden Shogun can be a battery for any character in the game, except maybe Zhao. It's not her best pairing, but aside from that, pretty much anybody else. One other honorable mention is if you are a Eula main, Raiden Shogun is amazing for Eula. You can keep up Superconduct the entire time, and you can make sure that she has her burst back on a normal rotation. They're like a match made in heaven. But yeah, that kind of rounds out Raiden Shogun, and that might have been a little bit long-winded, but she has a little bit more going on than Kokomi, and Kokomi is going to be easier to talk about. So let's go ahead and jump in, talk about Kokomi. This is a character that I accidentally wished for. If you don't believe me, I'll link the video up above. I was so sure that this character was going to just be a waste. I was like, oh, this is Barbara 2.0. This is 5-star Barbara. Here we go. I was pleasantly surprised that I was wrong. Here's the thing, with the increase of corrosion damage and anything that can just fight straight through shields, characters like Zhongli are becoming less and less relevant in Genshin Impact. But when you need a character that can keep you alive, Kokomi's there for you. Here's the big thing. If you need a good healer, Kokomi's the best healer. Period. You find a character that can heal better than Kokomi. So she is level 79 out of 80. I haven't even ascended her the last time. I can literally still ascend her one more time. I've been slacking. And no, I'm not gathering these for any particular reason. Don't look at me. So my Kokomi has a max HP of 38,328. Almost as much as Zhongli. Zhongli's got 46, but we're not talking about him. So with the rest of her stats, they're doo-doo. So look, she has a negative 100 crit rate starting out. So any crit rate you have on this character, or crit damage for that matter, is wasted because she literally can't crit. Now look, if you're gonna be like, oh, you can just build over 100 crit rate and then she'll crit. If you can make it to like 150 crit rate so that she can crit 50% of the time, go for it. Let me know what your crit damage is at. But the main thing that I use Kokomi for is strictly healing. Yes, she can be used as an on-field hydro enabler, and you can build her to do some solid damage. But to me, speccing specifically into HP, she does enough damage and she heals so much, literally nothing can die. Let's get into it. So right now I have her with her Everlasting Moonglow at level 90, which I swore I would not get to level 90 because I was so mad that I got this weapon, but here we are. Now this weapon is great for her, but honestly for the longest time, I was just straight up running Thrilling Tales. The difference between 35% HP and 49% HP, so what were we at before? We were at 38,000. We're at 36,000. It's really not that much of a difference. I don't recommend wishing for her weapon unless you want her to be your main DPS, which I also don't recommend, but it is fun. You can run her that way. Honestly, one of my favorite builds is running her with like Venti, Beto, and Fischl. Stupid fun. Just literally everything gets sucked up and just gets like tased to death. It's great. But yeah, I would recommend just level up a Thrilling Tales of the Dragon Slayer. Totally fine. This is going to be a perfectly good weapon and she will heal for a ton. Mine literally healed for like 7,500 or something. So your characters will be healed up like that. Now, since I'm strictly focusing on her healing, I haven't actually built out the clam set just yet. I may build her a clam set in the future. I do have some pieces, but I, like I said, wanted to focus on healing. So I went for a Maiden Beloved set. Now my Maiden Beloved set is decent and has some decent stats. Here, of course, we got a ton of crit damage, which is pointless, but we did get some HP and some defense, which is helpful. But yeah, a lot of HP. I'm strictly focusing on HP. You can see the flower got 20%, which is hype. We got HP Sands, HP Goblet, and an healing bonus. circlet. Healing bonus circlet because it's going to do more than if you add another HP piece there on the end. So I would definitely recommend that. But yeah, that's my setup for her as far as artifacts go. I definitely like her as just a straight up healer. Like I said, I think she does enough damage. She can definitely do more with the clam set, but at this point I'm like, is it worth all that? Now her constellations, just don't worry about them. You don't need them. She's insane at C0. If you're getting her for the same purposes that I use her as a healer, just don't bother. She's amazing at C0 and cute as a button. So finally, her talents. This is a character that's going to be a little different. So you are going to be using her normal attacks if you plan on using her as a hydro enabler. If you want her just as a healer, level up her E and level up her burst. That's it. But if you do want her on field doing damage, you are going to need to level up her normal attacks. As you can see, I got them to level 8 because I was like, I'm gonna do that. I never do that. But you can see her normal attack scalings are decent. They're pretty solid. These also do matter when we're talking about her burst, so keep that in mind. But I would say her main value is her Kagura's Oath. So Kagura's Oath has a regeneration of 7% of her max HP plus 795 at level 8. Duration of 12 seconds, cooldown for 20. And finally, her elemental burst, her Nereid's Ascension. Her skill damage does 15.6% of her max HP, and her normal attacks do 7.3%. Charge attack does 10%. Bake Kurage damage bonus is another 10% of her max HP, but she also gives HP regeneration for the whole team on every single hit. That's 1.2% of her max HP plus 133 at level 7, just over and over and over. So every time you hit during her burst, she's literally healing everybody in your party just like Chi-Chi. And the other great thing about her burst, it'll actually reset the duration of the Bake Kurage. If Sangonomiya Kokomi's own Bake Kurage is on the field when she uses Nereid's Ascension, the Bake Kurage's duration will be refreshed. Super dope. All in all, I think Kokomi is one of the best, if not the best healer in the game. And I don't even have her all the way leveled up. Literally, I could level her up again, but I just don't feel the need to. She just heals so much already. But with all that being said, thank you for making it to the end of the video. What do you think of these two characters? Are you thinking about summoning for Kokomi for a good healer? Or maybe you want somebody like Raiden Shogun to make sure that all of your team has their bursts pretty much at all times. Both of them I think are great options. I think Kokomi is about to get tanked. Super unfortunate because she's actually really good, but I can totally understand not wanting to wish for a 5-star healer because it's just not very exciting. If you're a lower spender or a free-to-play player, you want to wish for like the big DPS characters, and you'll just use Diona or Bennett or Barbara. I get that. Let me know what you plan on doing down in the comment section down below, because you all know the other option.
Skip both of them and just wish for Ayato.
I understand you too. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. See you on the next one. Bye.